Welcome everybody to tonight's meeting and this is a joint meeting of the Racial Justice and the Green Sanctuary teams within the Social Justice Committee here at the Unitarian Church in Charleston. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. We have a special guest, Queen Quet, who is here speaking to us. And first I want to get some important information out. The restrooms are right here.
I just demonstrated for you.
Masks, please keep your masks on. No recordings. Queen Quet has requested no recordings. We expect that. And when she comes in, please stand for her. Out of respect, please. But we are going to begin our meeting here with centering words from our Reverend Rebecca.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. This is an incredible opportunity for us and a part of our expression as Unitarian Universalists as we learn to live into our eighth principle. So I wanted to read that for us tonight to remind us that we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. And so we keep that in the front of our minds and in our hearts at all times here at this church, and I invite you to do the same. So let us begin with a brief moment of centering. Spirit of life, draw near us this evening. Bless our time together. Open our ears to hear the wisdom and truth of Queen Quet. Open our eyes to see what is and what is possible. Open our hearts and fill them with love. May this be so. And amen.
So now I'd like to introduce our speaker tonight. And we are so thrilled to have her here. And she's got quite an impressive biography here. Queen Quet is the Chieftess of the Gullah Geechee Nation and founder of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition. Queen Quet, Marquetta L. Goodwine, is a published author, computer scientist, lecturer, mathematician, historian, columnist, preservationist, environmental justice advocate, environmentalist, film consultant, and the archivist. So she's got an impressive background. She has not only provided musical presentations throughout the world, but was also the first Gullah Geechee person to speak on behalf of her people before the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. Queen Quet was one of the first of 7 inductees in the Gullah Geechee Nation Hall of Fame. She received the Anointed Spirit Award for her leadership and for being a visionary. And that it is that visionary understanding that we look forward to hearing tonight. So please welcome Queen Quet.
Hold on, just a little while longer. Hold on, just a little while longer. Everything might be alright when I have to pray on. Just a little while longer, pray on. Just a little while longer, pray on. Just a little while longer, everything might be alright when I have to fight on. Just a little while longer, fight on. just a little while longer. Fight on. Just a little while longer. Everything why be alright. On a children, everything why be alright. In the morning, everything why be alright. Good evening, honey children. How honored to be this evening?
All right.
My eyeglass, I must have need eyeglass, honey. I don't know, see telling me in the other now, I thought I better see how the rest of people did in your side. Ain't try that yet. Good evening.
Good evening.
More kidding, because I know I ain't getting none of the snow. Every time you be getting something.
No, I ain't had a thing.
Oh, what him? I said, well, you can't think like that. They give me hot it in now. More kidding. So, Rachel, you seen anything like that? Before you quit whining, anything like that. You can't come on this your sword. But I remember, poor in there. What can't these your thing what we got sit across Stone Street. But in my banners, I can't like this year. What them boarding thing? But we did right, but then just a little while ago, the gas on the wall. So before we get going this evening, I will take more than silence. But we gotta get your ancestors. What village you think what they call the Holy City? Wherever first holy to them talk to her. And right was. For we gotta get your family. For we going there in Manuel. Yeah, I mean. I've been there that morning. Spirit tell me go on. Your day of this evening. And by the time you get on that evening, look on the thing. You see, your family thing be gone. Emmanuel and me. So you can't start off this show this evening without we bow your head together and give a moment of silence. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Amen. So this shit ain't anything like that. I don't want 100 children for be cracking anything like that. I'd rather was to see the cow over Santos or anything like that. So even though it's 100 deal, and it's your only city where 100 shouldn't get people to crack a teeth like that. I know most of the time you're here in Charleston, you're used to hearing people speaking like this on the piazzas and stuff like that. And all the more now, you don't even hear them talking like this. You just say, hi, how y'all doing and stuff. Hey, yo, what's up? Because you got a lot of Yankees here in Charleston. Then you got your Midwestern folk, I don't know what we call y'all, all coming to the coast. But now, one thing we realize is that a lot of people who've lived inland all their lives, to tell them what it is, to literally say, the water to bring me, the water going to take me back, that the water do we, and things like that. And you honor children have to know how that. They'll look at us the same way you were doing when I was speaking in my native tongue, Gullah, with no clear, as you would say, understanding, and I like to say overstanding because I feel like my people have been under too long, so it's time for us to be over something. All right? That they wouldn't grasp what that means. And we've seen the plethora of people who definitely have no overall understanding of what it's like to live on this coast called the Gullah Geechee Nation, from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, and 30 to 35 miles inland to the St. Johns River, especially if they live on one of the sea islands. Anybody in this room live on a sea island, raise your hand. If you ain't sure, if there's water surrounding it on all sides, okay then. Anywhere within that region. Okay, I got a few more hands and I cleared up the definition. All right, so now I know you overstand me, and then I'm not throwing them down like that shit where you'll say, and you need other towns to translate. So now, we're working with something now. So here it is that many of you, if you came to the sea island, did anybody that lived on an island previous to living on the sea island, raise your hand. See, only a couple people. So 1/3 of who raised their hand the first time, raise your hand the second time. Now, if you have lived anywhere other than an island, raise your hands. Now look at that. So you see how massive the population of people has been that do not live on islands. So having no clear understanding or understanding believe that it's the same thing as living on the mainland. Thinking that we can do whatever we want. We build whatever we want. We build it as high as we want. We build as many as we want. We cram them in together. What's the matter with that? What's the matter with that? It's because I've also lived where there's another island that used to be called Manhasset, which y'all now call New York City. And people forget that that was a plantation island like many of the sea islands were too. It was farmland. It was agricultural. Central Park, in fact, was actually a black township until the same thing that has happened now and is happening now, even as we sit here, happened to them. They got displaced, scattered from that location. So the reality for us who are native Gullah Geechees to have people who move in and say, we want to learn how we should live here and how we should live together here is a blessing in and of itself. Because normally people come down here and say, I never heard of you all before. The first moment say, what did I actually take for anything like that? They did what? What's that? What are they doing? Are you from the Caribbean? No, we're not. But we have cousins there. We have cousins in West Africa. We have cousins in South America. We have cousins in Mexico that speak Gullah also, but with some Spanish in it. So we sound funny to them and they sound funny to us, who still speak our native tongue. But most of the time when you are here in the holy city, it's an abomination before God because the people blessed by God, which is what Gullah means, weren't allowed to speak our language, which was divinely ordered by God in this city. You see Elder Town shaking her head. She grew up here. Most of us up and down this coastline will tell you that we had to deal with them issuing corporal punishment to us in schools if you were heard speaking your native tongue. And unfortunately, who brought that practice to us? The people in the church. The missionaries. Who came, and as many have said, came with their hands open, and then all of a sudden, one day they also showed up and they appeared, and in their hand they had something, and it was a book. And they said, well, what is that book that you all hold? Because that's not necessarily the ones that we had in Kush and Kemet. What book is that? Well, this is the Bible. And as someone on our end reached to take the Bible, they said they used their two hands to reach and take the land. So here it is, a situation where even in the motherland from which our ancestors were kidnapped and then dragged through this harsh condition of the Middle Passage and brought to Sullivan's Island, just north of where we are, and then chained, bound, beaten, seasoned like they were food, meaning whipped and starved until they would not look up, until they could be broken in spirit enough to be sold, where we are now building the International African American Museum at a place called Gadsden's Wharf. And as I said to you, in Gullah, these streets they call cobblestone were ballast they took off those ships on their backs, on their shoulders, when they came on. And you would wonder, why did they need them anyway? Because it kept the ship in balance. Because they sold some of the people off in the Caribbean. Maybe they could balance out a human with some rum. Maybe they could balance out a human with some sugar as they brought it over here. But when they went back, they took sea island cotton, indigo, and the thing that people love the most, and Kelly's still looking for, that Carolina gold rice. So most of the time when we say, well, what do you want from the Gullah Geechees if you're looking for us? Oh, I want to get some of their food. Oh, I heard they make great rice dishes. And I said, that's all you think we did? We actually built the entire country that you now call America. Because it started here. Charleston was the largest enslavement auction block in North America, second only to the other island I mentioned a little while ago, which was what? Manhattan. Where? Speak louder. You got masks on anyway, you robbers. Speak louder. Yeah, where in New York? Where?
Central Park.
Central Park. Somebody said no. Where?
South Street Seaport.
Oh, you're very close. Right, yes. Right there, South Street, Seaport, but where's that main street of commerce? Give it to me.
Wall Street.
Wall Street. Wall Street and the East River was the second largest auction block in North America. And they say it still is. Because it's still commodities. It's still a place of exchange. Still selling our souls of people with the prison industrial complex and various other things we could talk about, but we don't have enough time tonight. We'll have to do another session. Right? So y'all are right. It still is that place. But yet when people see that ticker tape come up, especially for real estate, they don't realize it's just sold, and we were considered an item right next to real estate, our ancestors. And now the real estate is to harvest out the knowledge and intellectual property of Gullah Geechees and have everybody else sell it but the Gullah Geechees themselves, while displacing us from the land, naming places, Geechee Road, Gullah something, Gullah Geechee this. This misinformation campaign and propaganda campaign is what made me think about what I'd heard before. People at first acting like their arms are open, but actually having this. And you know, in New York City, they play a game called three-card money. You got to figure out where's the card at, right? So we seem like now with Mother Earth, somebody's playing that game. So why don't we build over here, and when these houses fall in the ocean, can't we just move and put them over here? But you already took all the money and left. But the natives said, don't build there. The natives that actually have college degrees in engineering and computer science and mathematics, talking about myself now, said, don't build there, it's not sustainable. So it's interesting to me now to have the same folk, pretty much, who called us, oh, emotional natives, which I don't know what's wrong with being emotional. You know, to show some emotion is to show you're not a psychopath or a sociopath. So I don't know what's wrong with that, but it said, you know, you're an emotional native. Forget your degrees, forget you graduated with honors, forget you studied engineering, and you know about tide, that it comes and goes every day. And every time it goes out, it does what? Takes something with it. It takes some soil, right? So if you have something built there, and you keep chipping away at beneath it, what's going to eventually happen? It's going to topple. And we're at that time that some are saying, Mother Earth feels that she's toppling because of what we've done. That it's Anthropocene, that it's human caused. This thing called climate change, sea level rise, all of this. And in the midst of that discussion now, many people want to talk to the emotional natives. They say they want the traditional ecological knowledge from us now, and it's almost too late for that. Because if you've clear cut all the trees that we said needed to stay there because we need the oxygen we have a symbiotic relationship going on with these trees. If you filled in the marsh that actually helps prevent flooding, and then the house you bought on it floods at a king tide, because cotton's not king anymore, the tide is. What is it you want us to do except say to you, we told you so? Because the only thing I can offer as an engineer and an environmentalist at that point is to tell you what my soul says that Mother Earth has said. Tear that stuff down and let me heal. Surgeries happen like that. Certain things have to be removed in order for the body to heal. We cannot continue overbuilding on every single inch of sand and expect it to stand and not, what was that word? Topple. So I said, well, praise the Lord, I come in to be with some church people on a Friday evening. like Gullah Geechees are so accustomed to doing back in the day. I ain't gonna call Brother Dixon out in here, but he know what I'm talking about. Friday evening was usually a meeting. There you go, he said, that's right. So we usually would be in church this time of evening. Don't talk about what people do after church on Friday. We just saying Friday evening. The after work day was to go to church. There's some church meeting, Bible study, something going on. Had consecration service before communion. Something was going on at the church. And we usually use that time to educate our community on the things they needed to know about what was happening in that community. So I said, well, I guess that's why God would have me come to Charleston on a Friday, knowing that during tourist season, Queen Quet does not want to be in the traffic of Charleston. So I prayed, I meditated. God said, go on, because you're going to be with people who want to be brought together. Their church name is Unitarian. You've been with these Unitarian individuals before in Savannah, various places. Unitarian people have invited me to a lot of places. I said, but I don't feel a lot of unity from them out there. I've been asked to speak. They greet me. They're very pleasant. They like to chat after church, which we like to go home so we can sit down and eat our barbecue chicken and various red rice and stuff. I said, but then I never hear from them. So I'm not quite sure what do they do. And now I hear your pastor tonight read the text. Pastor, might you help me out? Would you read again what you read at the beginning? And then I want to add to that the scripture that God told me to come from in my text this evening while I'm here. Because I can't be in the church and not give you some scriptures. Go ahead.
Journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. In ourselves. I want y'all to listen to this. 2 Chronicles 7:14. I'm reading from King James. When you get home, please find you one of these if you don't have one. All right? If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now, as I mentioned, I'm a mathematician, so generally, I would not have written this in the way King James did, to just say turn, because usually you tell someone to turn, they do a full turn. They don't usually just turn like that, right? Unless we do in church, dances and stuff. People, you say turn, they usually turn all the way around, which is a 360-degree turn, which means you come back to the same place. I might have told you to proceed away from instead. Do a 180, which is when you're going away from something. Sin is to know to do something and not do it. And now we say it's a sin and a shame because we're doing things that we have no business doing. And when I looked at that and I said, it says that we hear from heaven. And then I remembered heaven is amongst you. I'm going to leave that for homework for you to find where that is in the scripture. No cheating, pastor. Pastors in the building. And I said, heaven. If heaven is within you, heaven is amongst you. So to hear from heaven means we should all be hearing right now. Because if heaven is amongst us, we should hear that this is Mother Earth speaking, saying to us through every wind, every storm, every flood, even the pandemic, I have had enough of you children. Notice what Mother Earth did the last 2 years. Y'all remember 2 years ago? Mother Earth said, sit down. Go to your rooms. You remember that? Don't care how old you were. This might have been the first time in your life you listened to your mom and went to your room. Now some of you went in your room, you stayed there against the window, wondering what's going on. Some of you went in there biting your nails. Some of you went in the liquor closet in the room. But you went in the room. You stayed in there for a while, trying to figure out what exactly was this all about. And as you watch the dummy box, we call it TV, that programs everybody, they started telling us various things that didn't add up, and they would change the report. But here it was. The good news started coming out, which is what gospel is, right? The good news. Animals were coming out, taking over places like those parks. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my, right? They were all coming out. People were catching them with their cell phones like we had never seen this before. California, they started seeing for miles. They could not believe that. People thought, what happened to our eyes? Maybe this thing isn't bad. No, the air cleared up. Creatures started swimming in Venice, right? Through the water. They said they'd never seen this before. And I'm sitting at home going, thank you. Thank you for sending us wholeness and that. This is so beautiful. My work is going to be so much easier. Oh, thank you. So now they're going to listen to all of us who are saying that their behaviors of the humans is what is killing the earth. So they're going to change. They're going to do better. Oh, yes. And I thought all the spiritual people of the world were doing just that, humbling themselves and praying and turning. And that the world would turn with us like an elegant dancer, and we would all come out. And now I could go from the 1919 flu discussion into the 20s, the roaring 20s. I said, these are the 20s. I want this to be the roaring 20s when we get out. We will roar. I had a woman hear me roar. We will roar together. We will dance. We will have fun. And no. They came at the house throwing their masks down all over the beach. They did that, and then we look out and start driving around, and they're tearing down trees for miles. And no one's paying attention to the stories that are saying that actually, when people found themselves at home, gardening, farming, going out jogging, just sitting and meditating, out in the open air, was healing to them, mentally and spiritually. So I said, well, they hadn't learned anything. That's unfortunate. Because the unfortunate reality is that we all pay the price. So I said to my other folks who are climate activists, that we take climate action at the United Nations, in our own lives, in our individual communities. Well, this is a teaching time. And as we started into discussions, we said, but it can't be like it was. It can't be that a few major environmental organizations that do not have any staff or any board members that look like me, red or us don't sound like a this tall. You all can't just continue to think that you should have multi-million-dollar budgets to just hold conferences, to do death by PowerPoint for hours and days, to, self-aggrandize about your theories and your pontification about this carbon emissions and CO2 emissions and how many pounds of carbon are in the air. I said normal people don't talk like scientists do. And I said, remember, I'm one of you. I said, although I grasp what you're saying, the average person has no way of getting how is carbon in the air measured in pounds. Why don't you just tell people, your mama didn't raise you right, stop being nasty, don't throw your plastic down, put away your garbage into a trash receptacle, recycle, talk a basic language. Don't tell them, don't throw things out your car window while you drive. I said, if you do that, they might change. And if cumulatively we've done this harm, cumulatively we could change the world for the better. My latter days show me greater than my former. And I said, if we could just meet people where they are, they might begin to value the salt marsh. They might begin to value the connectivity of the sea islands. That when you drive down the country roads, instead of the city streets, that those ditches on the side, if you throw your garbage out your car window going by, you eventually do what to the ditch?
Block it.
Block it. So if you block it with garbage, when it rains, what happens?
Flood.
Flooding, right? So now if there's flooding in the ditch, and the ditch has nothing but pavement on the other sides of it, what's going to happen? More flooding, right? So some buildings going to flood out, some other paved areas going to flood out, and water against a rock will break a rock down. So asphalt begins to crack, right? Now that's unstable. So you're doing the opposite of sustainability. But if you protect it, you make sure that your ditches are cleared and you keep roots out and trash out. The water that flows through there eventually makes its way to our estuaries where our salt marsh is. Our salt marsh is a natural cleanser. It will filter out a lot of toxins, a lot of things that run off, as they call it, will go out then and go into the streams, the rivers, the creeks. Eventually they meet up with the ocean. But instead, the ocean is being met with the trash that gets pushed, the more water, and it unclogs and it moves or it floats on top. It ends up out there, and now we have this thing called ocean acidification. So, as seafood lovers in the Gullah Geechee Nation, that didn't work well with us. We don't want no acid on our seafood. What y'all say? So we had to now grasp what was this new term they're using. You already come with sea level rise. That made no sense to us. We're like, yeah, the sea rises every day. 2 times a day at least. You got high time. That's sea level rise. We're like, no, that's not the same thing. I said, well, y'all should have better terminology. And again, the way they keep changing the terms, we can't keep up with it. So again, people then just zone out. While people are zoning to displace my people. And putting zoning in places to alter rural landscapes, agricultural lands, natural areas that we find sacred, that have always been the places for us that were of spiritual rejuvenation. And so it's important to us that we understand why we must come together in unity, in reality, to work together in a way that all those different discussions that were zooming around on Zoom started to think about addressing, because they really didn't address it, they just talked about it. With these 4 words. I used to love this one word that became the acronym. I used to love it so much as being a Jedi. I always told people, as a computer scientist, a black, when I was the first black Jetson, I would tell people that all the time. That, you know, because nobody in my family understood what she mean her office is in her briefcase. Where's she going? How does she work? We don't understand. She don't clock in and out. How can she be at her house? She said she got a job. How does that work? They couldn't get it. Now they get that part. But now they're talking about Jedi. I said, but that's from Star Wars. Why y'all trying to mess with Yoda? I like Yoda. Woosah. They were like, no, well, no. Now we're talking about justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. I said, but you're talking about it and you're not doing it. Because in the black community, the word justice, we usually say it's just us. Am I behind? People of African descent? Oh, okay. No, right? We have all said that it's just us. What they do is just to us. Who suffers from it? Just us. So that's not equitable. Now, I have come almost to despise the word diversity because it started being used as a mechanism to destroy Black History Month. People want to celebrate diversity. That's not what that month was created for everybody else. It's Black History Month. It's to study Black history. So when we say diverse, we're diverse in the room right now. We have people of different ages, different cultures, some people who are Southerners, some people who are not, some are men, some are women. Some of us got long hair, some got short hair, some got gray hair, some got black hair. Whether you died or not doesn't matter. So we're diverse already. So why use that term? That often means we're going to have a room full of Anglo people and we're going to pick one black person, one Asian person, one Latin person, and hopefully they're also women, and we're going to put them in here with us. That's what I've seen it. That's how I've seen it, as we say, play out. Inclusion means I invited you. I didn't have to show up. But you just say, well, I did invite them. But then why not ask, why didn't I show up? Maybe I didn't show up because I didn't want to feel like I was only invited to be a checkbox. Maybe I didn't want to show up because my experiences before were what I said. You chatted with me and then I never heard from you again. Ladies, how many guys would you tolerate that? Oh, y'all laughing already? I ain't even getting finished. So you feel me, as I said, right? Okay, so think about that. So my whole point was, if you really want to have justice and equity, we have to first build relationships. Because it can't just be us and then dealing with these matters. And equity and equality don't mean the same thing either. So don't think you're dealing with equality just because you throw in the word equity. And if we're going to talk about equity, it has to be in all ways and in all things. And that also means financially. It does not mean pay everybody. I don't know you, sir, but what's your name?
Joe.
Joe. I was going to call him Joe anyway. See how God works? So don't hire Joe. Pay Joe $100,000 and then tell Joe, go do a diversity meeting and focus group in Charleston with the Gullah Geechee, and ask the Gullah Geechee to come as volunteers to be there to talk with Joe. See, to me it's real easy, but everybody's been making it, as Lauren Hill said, it could all be so simple, but you'd rather make it hard. It's really that easy. Don't say, well, we have a foundation, so why don't you write a grant? And you write a grant to our foundation, and so that we can maybe choose your group to work with. But you knew how to contact us to tell us you had a foundation. Why? Oh, because y'all do great work. Oh, I follow you on social media. I've seen you on television. All of these things. But hold on, so then you're saying the work I'm already doing is great? Oh, it's fabulous! Fabulous! Award-winning work. I've read what you do. Okay, so why do I need to compete with other people who you don't know then? You know what I'm doing already. So why do I need to fill out a grant application? Couldn't you just send a check? It's really not complicated. It's really not. And then, when people say, well, how can we support you as Gullah Geechees? God told me tonight, and let them answer that question themselves. We're in the church. This is actually a what? It's a what? You in Charleston. It's a basket, right? Don't worry about the share. It's still a basket, right? So if we're in a church, Elder Town, do me a favor. Go on, take that. No, in fact, Reverend Dixon, come on up here, brother. You even better at this than Elder Town. So go ahead. God told me just do this exercise right here. We in the church. Go ahead, walk around the room with that. Let's see what happens. Walk around here. Let me see what happens. Let me just see what happens.
Is it okay if I stop in front of
You can start and go right on. Go on. Keep going. No, keep going through the whole church. Go through the whole church. I just want to see what happens. I just want to see what happens. Because God don't tell me to try something with that for no reason at all. I just want to see what happens. So, as he is going through with the basket, normally at the town, what would we do? In our church, somebody would do what right about that? That's right. They would sing a song, right? So, let's see. I just want y'all probably know, because I don't want to throw y'all off the back, because y'all couldn't help me out earlier. Y'all can help me on this one, I hope. Maybe y'all just got to pick up the tone like I'm going to give it to them. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water, God won't trouble the water, wade in the water. the water.
God's gonna trouble the water.
If you don't think I've been redeemed, God's
gonna trouble the water.
then follow me down to the Jordan stream.
God's gonna trouble the water.
So wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Pastor, I know you can't resist going to bless. Go ahead and bless the collection.
Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise. Not only for the blessings, the monetary blessings, but for all blessings. The good times, the bad times. This wonderful Queen who has blessed us today with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. It can only come from you. Help us to appreciate and to respect your goodness, your graces, and this offering that's been passed down today. And we pray these things in our Savior's name.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you to all that gave. Go ahead and sit right back here, Pastor. Thank you so much. Now, what y'all didn't know, and the pastor didn't know either, is that in the very bottom of this was actually some Carolina gold. There's actually a piece of it in the bottom. There was also actually some healing herbs in the bottom. So there's many different things that can bring about healing. In some cases, it might be just a song we sing. In some cases, it might be this herb here. In some cases, it might be some of the Carolina gold already cooked up as a plate of food that somebody that we didn't realize didn't have it because they did try to farm some food, but because of the climate change, their tomatoes and everything burned up on the bush before they had a chance to harvest it, or the bugs had come and eaten it before they had an opportunity. The harvest seasons have become shorter, and I pray that the distance between us as people will become shorter, that we will get on the shoreline and recognize what we just sang, that God has troubled the water. Mother Earth has also spoken. She's spoken on the shoreline called the Gullah Geechee Nation, saying there is an opportunity here for you to actually have justice, for you to actually equally be a part of bringing that about for the world. There is an opportunity here for you to give of what you do have, so that things might be more equitable, and maybe eventually we all would have equality, and then we don't have to worry about words like diversity or inclusion, because we all would be included. No one would have to say the word justice in the way that it originally was in the Greek in the first place, just us. They would actually say all of us, as we say all of we. As you see behind me on our flag, there is what in the center of it? A. It's a tree. Anything unique about it? What? She said, yes. Somebody said, what? What is it? She's looking at it. Y'all are studying it like a great piece of art. The lights are struck, giving you a little hard time to see. How about that one over here? A little better? It's sideways, I know, but it's still. He said sideways, like the trees on the beach around here, unfortunately, it's sideways. But what it is that they're human bodies intertwined. They are rooted into the earth. The blue represents the water to bring me the water, going to take me back. Also represents that indigo that my ancestors were enslaved to grow. That green represents the land, you see. And that's what we're here to talk about, that healing of the land and how the land can heal us. That gold represents us. The black gold is what they called our ancestors when they shipped them out and they sold them. They called them actually black gold because of all the richness they put in their pockets, growing that Carolina gold. But there's a greater richness here tonight. An opportunity for us of varying cultures from varying places that now live on these sea islands and this coastal region that they often call the Low Country and the Gullah Geechee Nation, to think about what it is that we each can contribute. You can't wait for the corporations. You can't wait for the foundations. You can't put it off on these politicians. They lie to all of us. They tell this side of the room they're going to give them all $1,000. They tell that side of the room, I'm going to give y'all all $5,000. Then when they get to Washington, they don't remember either side of the room. Right? So you can't put it on them. It's on us. Who's the one who's supposed to do the turning? That's not everybody elsewhere. That's each one of us in here. The ones that have the opportunity, the ability, and we should give thanks if we still do, to actually walk at all, much less to walk away from negativity. And yesterday, I'm going to give y'all this before I open the floor. And I said maybe this group would be able to help me understand this. Yesterday I had someone come and tell me that someone who had been brought out to meet me along with a special guest from Washington to see a place that had been a Sea Island cotton plantation. That he was supposed to just tell us where it was located, what was the basic history of it when it was a plantation, and then we were supposed to have a dialogue. Well, this guy went on for 30 minutes and nobody else could talk. And during the time he was talking, he kept saying, well, these brown, I can't imagine the brown people that used to be out here working. There were brown people that worked out here, you know, back during that era. And now, they, you know, you can drive along highways and see other brown people working on farms now. And I'm standing there. Okay, y'all are laughing already. So I think y'all see where this is going. The guy kind of looked like Joe if you need any help, all right? It's not Joe though, it's not Joe. Thank God it's not Joe. And so I stopped him, I said, please stop that. I said, that's inappropriate. You're calling my people brown people and you're saying you couldn't imagine this? I said, I can imagine it because these are Gullah Geechees. Just say Gullah Geechee, say Gullah Geechee, or say African, or say black people. But don't just say they're brown, like what are we, crayons? Brown people. Brown people, what do you mean? But I said, don't do that. I said, and they said, well, you know, I don't know what it's like to be a black or Gullah Geechee woman or man. And everybody is standing there looking at him like, really? Like, you needed to say that on top? That was his response to that. So he apparently went back to his office and then said, I offended him. Okay, see, I'm glad I got that reaction because I said I needed to see if y'all can help me. So he went back to his office and said that I offended him. Okay? Because I pulled out one of my books that I wrote because he made the remark that I'm not an expert on the subject either. So I went in the trunk of the car that he was leaning on, got the book out the trunk and put one book, not all those that I wrote, just one, and put the one about cotton on the trunk of the car for him to look at. He wouldn't even touch the book. He wouldn't open it. But you just said you're not an expert either. So now my thing is, okay, you're not an expert on the subject, so why don't you let me talk? So when that happened last night, that someone else came to tell me that she wanted to introduce herself and apologize because she didn't want me to think all people in their division of the government was like this guy. I said, I don't think that. I don't think that. I said, but God had it that you came and confirmed what I felt that he was going to do. So instead of going, and she said, I would have preferred that he would have come and had a conversation with me, but instead he came back and did this in a meeting and said this stuff. And she, of course, didn't repeat everything he said. But he didn't have a dialogue with me. In fact, he just walked off after a while, no change. So how can we get to a point of equity if you don't even want to have a dialogue? But instead you want to storm off. And this is no young person, mind you. He should be getting headed toward his pension, as my mother would say. Okay? So let's not think it's a millennial, Gen Z, none of that. Okay? So how do we get there? If we're dealing with this right now. That happened 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks. It was on a Friday. And he's shaking his head, no. See, so if you shaking your head, how you think I felt? Right? Yeah. So I said I couldn't wait to get here tonight to mention that to y'all so I could just get your natural reaction. So that I could see if it was like mine or was it a cultural thing. And it's not. Okay, that's good to know. So tell me, is everybody here Unitarians? Is anybody here Unitarian? Oh, okay, yes, Unitarians in the building, yes, all right, nice, all right, because I got scared of it, like, I'm in the church member, so what's that? So yes, I'm happy that everybody is here, of course, but thank you so much, because I have spoken at many Unitarian churches up and down the coast, and I usually enjoy the opportunity, but I usually preach a sermon on Sunday, and then I get to chat, get my snack, and leave. So it's interesting to have an actual dialogue and to know that you will have such committees that want to discuss these types of, as Wendy Williams would have said, hot topics, right? But then I never liked that show, but I like the term, hot topic. So tell me, what is this that is burning on your minds about the environment here, and equity, and the things that can be done with justice? That's kind of what I felt was the overarching discussion, right? I was asked to come after tonight. You want to be the first one to get to
Right,
that?
right, yes. So we're members of the Charleston Area Justice Ministry.
Yes.
And this year they created an environmental justice committee.
Oh, it's brand new.
It's brand new.
That's why I never heard of y'all before. I thought I was just left out because I wasn't a Unitarian.
No, this is the Charleston.
Yeah.
And Reverend Dixon is
A member?
yeah.
Oh, that troublemaker? Oh, no wonder then. I'm going to join. No, I just messing with you. You get into good trouble. Yes.
So they had 2-3 months of research
Always.
on the flooding.
Flooding issues in Charleston, the city, the peninsula itself,
Right.
or the county?
The city.
Okay.
And they were looking, and because they've been surveying all these people.
Yeah.
And one of the complaints among a lot of them were, the place is flooding.
Yeah.
What do I do?
What do I do?
You know, my house is
It's flooding, yeah.
It's, mold and all this stuff. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of things.
Right.
So they want to do something about the flooding. And this is what they were wanting to take to the city and request them do something about it. So but you have to make it a bit more specific if you want the city to do something and do it quickly, right?
Right.
And even when you ask a small thing, quickly it's not.
Quickly it's not, yeah.
So they decided to pair with the Friends of Gadsden.
Gadsden Green.
Which is right there across from Gadsden Green.
Right.
But there's just so much going on. And it's been an issue. There was the Dutch dialogues who said this is what we should do.
Put the wall up.
Well, and do other sorts of things. But a lot of the stuff that were in the Dutch dialogues, the city's kind of ignored.
Yeah.
But what they're not ignoring is the development, the West Edge,
Yeah.
which started to
Creek, yeah.
over
And
into
sprawl into Gadsden Green.
Oh, they're eyeing that property.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to figure out how do we lead? How do we contribute? How do we do something effective? It's one of the questions we asked. They had a meeting with the Gadsden Green and just trying to be sure to engage in the Gadsden Green they come together. And the question I asked at a meeting last night, and Reverend Dixon was there, is that, well, how many people from Gadsden Green really showed up?
That was going to be my question to you. Who from Gadsden Green really showed up? Right.
They're struggling to live day to day.
That's right. So they don't have the privilege of just showing up at meetings. It's frustrating, to say the least.
Well, you feel like you need to do so much, and it just seems like it's a mountain.
Yeah, that you have to keep climbing. Well, let me say this. It doesn't have to be Gadsden Green.
Right.
Let's look at the reality. Let's look at this room right now. Look at the demographics of this room. Right?
Right.
Now, if this had been 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the demographics of this room should have been at least 50% Gullah Geechee in here tonight, and 50% other folks, because there were more of us downtown where they could catch the bus over here at the time that this program started. But people have been displaced from the peninsula, so now they're way out in Somerville, or they're way up in North Charleston, or wherever. They can't get here, you know, right? And so they might have wanted to come, but they're hoping, please, Queen Quet, put this up on Gullah Geechee TV so I can see it, because I couldn't get down there. So that's an issue. So when you already have a situation where the majority black population that was here has been pushed out, then you have a built-in distrust bigger than the wall that they would like to put up around the city of Charleston. Because the people that remain will say, what is the point of me going to a meeting with them other people? Because you have to look at what the reality is. Eldertown can attest to it. The peninsula of Charleston wasn't even as large as it is when she was a little girl, because they filled it in. They did a landfill around it, and then after the landfilling, they said, let's just fill in the land. And they started pouring in sand, like I saw as we went to Georgetown yesterday, going over 526. All that area that's filled in, no doubt, because they want to widen 526 already, where it used to be marsh and now it's not. Again, doing away with the area where this naturally would have absorbed the flooding. You see, we can't one-up God. God built the place a certain way, and it's reclaiming itself. That's what the flooding is. Many people who bought homes don't realize that, though, that they're built on a place that used to be marsh, not where it was solid soil in the first place. So that's a problem. The natives could have told you that, but they told the natives, you're emotional. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. So people start coming to meetings. And then, why come to the meeting if they don't think they're going to be heard? Also, we have different ways that we host meetings. If we were hosting this meeting tonight, barbecue chicken, cornbread, you said bread, right? All that would have been, because it's Friday evening, and people didn't eat, or it's fish fry. See, there are differences in the way we do stuff, so we already know we ain't going there because I'm hungry after work on Friday. I ain't got time for it. Okay, so that's another thing. If people are working, you know how it was when you were working. If you have children, you got your home, get the children, you got to do all. So you have so many things, like you said, people are trying to survive. They feel like everybody else who moves here, you can afford to be sitting around in meetings. They literally cannot. And they also don't want to expend the energy they do have talking to you where they don't think they're going to be heard, because what you're going to do next is break up into small groups and give out dots and say, put this dot on this particular thing that expresses your opinion of this, or here's some butcher paper, and you can write on the butcher paper. We use butcher paper to wrap meat after somebody went hunting. We do not want to sit in here writing on the butcher paper. So after we have gone through that, and then we're communal. So when we talk, if the brother, Rev, come up here real quick for me, with me, you, and Brother Pray and Elder Town. So, you remember back yonder when we been around America Street one time? Yeah, you remember that too, right? And then back yonder, you know how they used to get together and stuff like that on that corner and think the boys be up there, the crunchy teeth and things like that. And over there in Hannibal and things like that, right? Yeah. It has a good person in it. That's right. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. And see, so we talk like that. Okay, and usually, if I don't remember, if I say, what's your name, I got it. Good, LG. That's LG. And then you know what, and you ain't going to school, LG. No, you go work.
What with his brother, yeah.
Oh, you go with your brother. Yeah. You see right come on, that's the same thing now. Now that brother, which one the brother now?
The whole one, we call him Jumbo.
That one. You got to slick it. Okay, but we gonna talk about that later. But yeah, you know.
I'm the come here.
You the come here.
I'm the come here.
That's why I don't even fuss no way. Okay, that's why you want to join us over here. You just don't sing them high and things like that.
But I know.
But you know what you're talking about.
I know from where I come from.
Stop with that.
Come on now.
But you now.
Yeah.
Okay then. See, that drives y'all crazy. See, y'all be like, oh my God, they're disruptive. Yeah. They're disrupting the meeting. I can't take notes like that. I didn't get it. And meanwhile, we would have had every note down. Everything. But that's a cultural thing. So you got to respect that's also the thing. Is your meeting set up for everybody to be in it? Or is it being driven by your cultural perspective? And so maybe I've been to one too many of the meetings that's from your cultural perspective, and I just don't want to come anymore. Maybe I'll comment if I can do it online or by letter or email, but I don't want to spend this time in there because I find it too much like this. It's too much of a box. So I feel caged in, where everything for us is about that circle. Yeah, circle, this constant connection. Everybody has something that can be shared in the circle. And with it, all of us have everything we need because we put it all together. As opposed to putting it in a box and shutting the lid on it. That's more like a casket. See? So it don't take it like, because we've heard this, right? The black people don't care about the environment. People of color don't care about the environment. It's not true. It's all what we just said. They literally just can't afford to be these meetings, especially if you have at 3 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon. People are at work. If they run a business, they're operating their business. How can they be there? If you're retired, you can afford to be there now. I know you don't want to, unless you're just argumentative. Some of y'all ain't gonna tell me the truth. But I'm saying some of you would just rather have just retired and just woos out, like I said, right? Just enjoy the beach, enjoy the marsh, not have to keep fighting. But I feel you on it. This is an issue up and down the coast. And the issue now, when you say, what do we do, is one, don't give up. Okay? Two, when you do find the people who are also willing to stand with you on the issue, y'all gotta remain that solid front. You have to. If they normally used to seeing 50 of you in the room and start dwindling down to 20 of you, you be the same 20 thorns in their side consistently. If you do it on rotation, if you say, well, so that we don't wear everybody out or burn everybody out, every month 5 of us are going to the meetings, but we are always going to be there to make public comment. We are always going to also make sure it's in writing. Do not just get to the mic and speak. Always also turn in a written comment. Don't just stand there and just read the comment. Give some passion at the mic. Turn in the written comment to the written record. And that way you can hold them accountable for exactly what you wrote. You can't say what I said because they don't remember no more. But you can go back to the written record and say it's right here. The transcript of what I said is also there, and it shouldn't match up. Your letter shouldn't say one thing and say something else at the mic. Okay, so you want to make sure that they don't think they can burn you out, because that's part of it. Government gonna always be there. So they just figure, let them get their 3 minutes. Let them go ahead. Yep, they're talking. Oh, yep. And they're sitting up there and they're looking at their phones now. And they're doodling on paper. Some have fallen asleep. Okay? You have to continue to press on. We haven't stopped. We have not stopped. No matter what our folks have been up against, from chattel enslavement to Jim Crow era to Reconstruction to civil rights movement to the human rights movement we are in right now, we have not stopped. And so there's a song, I'll go if I have to go by myself. Okay? I would sing it, but y'all get too happy when I sing, so we're going to stick to this. So that's the thing. So I would say also, Reverend Dixon is going to express things in a different way than you are. Right? Mm-hmm. And he's going to express them from a different perspective. Allow that. Don't try to make us all fit in the same clothes. You got me? Because it's not comfortable. So you got to be open to that. I've been a lot, and still am, in a lot of organizations and in leadership, and I usually finish my term, but the ones that I tell them absolutely not, I will never do another term in here, no, is because people try to box me in, and they're not open to anybody else's perspective or way of presenting a perspective, and you got to be open to that. So let him argue from the point of view of the constituency he represents. You support that position, and then let him come back and be able to support your position, saying, well, okay, I live here now, I didn't live here all this time, or we are here because we are Unitarians, whatever position it is you're representing in that group. You see, but let people have the opportunity. It will make a difference. It will. Mm-hmm. they start getting to know you instead of getting tired of you. Yeah. Any others? Or the rest of y'all don't do nothing, she the only one going to me.
That was a really helpful explanation.
That was very helpful, okay.
That was a really helpful explanation.
Okay, great. Glad to know I made it. Anything else? Oh, that's all y'all that want to know? Good, I can go. Anything else? Any other questions? Because this committee is very interesting. What's the whole name of it?
Well, we're the Green part of the Green Sanctuary, which is part of the Social Justice Committee here. But we're members of the Charleston Area Justice District, which, remember, how many churches are in that?
41 churches. And there are different types of denominations.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
A mosque and a temple.
Beautiful. That's good. So I'm looking forward to seeing what is accomplished. Yeah. So is there going to be a big fellowship of everybody together planned at some point?
Yes, they have to be invited every year, they get 2,000 people together.
Oh, but I mean for this new committee, I'm saying.
Well, in part.
Okay, so they come to the Nehemiah. I've never been invited.
Every year there's a large gathering. Every year, Cajun decides on specific topics to address.
Okay.
And so this year, environmental justice is the key. Okay.
That's 3 councilmen saying yes out of the 13.
4 more. And y'all working on it.
Guys, yes, ma'am?
So have you invited them out to see? Have you invited them on a site visit?
Yes, ma'am.
And they didn't show up?
Some did, some didn't.
Okay. So y'all try to.
And we keep inviting them.
Did you feed them? That's where you went wrong. That's where you went wrong. That's where you went wrong. But see, let me explain. That's another thing. You cannot just run at people with stuff. Like we said, don't run up on us, okay? You need to just meet the people where they are. Like tonight, it is Friday night. Why y'all got this on Friday night? People want to hang out, right? So I know y'all just get this building on Fridays, I know. But is have something else and meet them there. Just have something fun. Just have something social. And invite them. And see if more of them show up there. And don't just, ambush them, but slowly over time, I want to talk to you about this. All kind of cuss words. You shouldn't, no, don't do that. You stop everything right there, don't do that. Y'all just having a social activity. You might see this person walking their dog while you walk your dog. That's a good opportunity. Talk with the dogs for a while. Let your dog walk with their dog. Okay, and then, it looks like our dogs can get along, so why can't we? Let's talk about it. I'm serious, it works. Because sometimes people, especially if they're in political positions, they just get inundated with people just calling them everything but a child of God and just thinking they're horrible, but they may not really understand the issue totally. That's why I asked if you had invited them out there to see what it is and what the impacts are. Have you then tried to have a more personal approach, Reverend Dixon, have you go on the Gas and Green people and even people who are from Gas and Green originally, but don't live there now, that were displaced out, have you tried to find them and bring them back together?
Yeah, I think those are the suggestions, the ideas.
Yeah.
Thinking outside of that box.
Yeah.
Maybe Charleston Area Justice Ministry needs to hear right now.
Yes.
I'm affiliated, but
okay.
I get dragged.
Yeah, I know. All over. Yeah. But I think it would be great, right? Other time, if they could bring that community together, like a reunion of Gas and Green.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then tell those who come back home, they could do a Gas and Green homecoming. And then let them know what the issue is. Then that way you get exterior support as well. And then when the final stages is kind of when they still ain't listening, then you just go before the world, put a petition online, and then just let everybody say something that values this place. See? Yeah. So I gave y'all your homework, get to it. I'm a teacher at hand. I want A's from all my students. Yeah. So I really appreciate the committee and the Green Sanctuary. If y'all call what, the Green Sanctuary?
Well, we've got T, the Green Sanctuary team, and the racial justice
justice.
And the racial justice team, thank you all so much for the invitation. I thank Simon for finding me once again. I was shocked. Simon says things, you know. I always tease him about that, but we did a lot of different things with Claw, so I'm so happy that Simon reached out to me, said you all wanted to invite me here and wanted to be a different audience to finally hear about the work we're doing and to support it. And I know what I was asked by email, I don't know if everybody got that because you're not all part of this church, but people ask, how do we support you on an ongoing basis? Thank you for this. This will go to our Gullah Geechee Land and Legacy Fund. And I did that test because so many times people say, I want to help, I want to help. And I actually had a woman in the audience once say, I said, well, we're raising money so that we can save land. We have to pay lawyers. Lawyers cost a lot of money. We go to court on a regular basis to fight land cases. And she's a college professor. I'm at her college, and she says, I don't have any money, but I would like to know how I can help. I said, you have a job. So you're not working here as a volunteer? So what do you mean you don't have any money? You do have money. What? I mean, so, you know, people make excuses to not do something while they wait on somebody else to do something. So I was very happy to be asked, how do we help? We have a website called GullahGeecheeLand.com. On that site, people can make direct donations to the Gullah Geechee Land and Legacy Fund, which is also on GoFundMe. You see the video with me talking about the land and the law and all that, you know that's the right one. You can do Cash App, $ Gullah Geechee Nation. All right, and you can send donations there at any time, $5, whatever. People send it $5 with love, you know, $5 want to help with the land. You know, I think somebody sent one while I was in here. My phone lit up. And so that helps. Also at that site, you'll see a form. You can join the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition, which I founded, which is the oldest organization in the world history. The only one that started out with the words Gullah Geechee put together in the name. And then after that, Elder Colleytown had the second oldest one, all right, which is now our Gullah Geechee Angel Network, which is our 501c3, which is actually based here in Charleston, but it's the Gullah Geechee Nation's nonprofit in totality. And so you can contribute to the work we're doing, and also there's a sign-up form to work with us on different things and to express what's your expertise. You may be engineers, you may be environmental scientists, you just may be rabble-rousers. Okay, that now have a whole group that just calls themselves proudly co-conspirators that assist when we're doing letter writing campaigns, when we're doing petitions. They're on our mailing list, they're on our social media, they retweet, they repost, they follow Instagram. We do it all. We have TikTok. You just find GullahGeecheeNation.com. You can click to Twitter, and you can click to Facebook, and you can click to Instagram. If y'all TikToking, y'all can find Gullah Geechee Nation on TikTok. But we're at Gullah Geechee on Twitter, at Gullah Geechee on Instagram. And there's no I in Geechee, if it a we. And so I definitely want to let you know this has been a blessing tonight for us. If you see that at the end of y'all coming over for the books and everything, I look like I'm rushing to put stuff in the suitcase. Yes, because I need to get to North Carolina tonight. Okay? But I was happy this was at this time, because I'm figuring the time we'll be riding through the Grand Strand and we won't be in traffic then. You know, but we do have to get to North Carolina because we have the first Gullah Geechee Ring Shout happening in North Carolina. Probably since our ancestors were there on Eagle Island, we're going to be doing that tomorrow afternoon, and so they've asked for my presence there. So it has been a blessed week, but tonight has truly been a blessed Friday night. I truly appreciate the unity in the Unitarian Church. Pastor, thank you for letting me have the pulpit tonight. All right, and make sure they do their homework and find out where that other scripture that I said about heaven, right? Yeah. You make sure, okay? I know the ones who don't go to this church, y'all glad now, right? Y'all glad. But definitely, please follow, please get in contact. If you want to email me directly, just go to queenquet.com and email from there, or gullahgeechee.net for the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition. I appreciate you, Elder Town. Any final words you want to say? This is our Minister of Information for the Gullah Geechee Nation.
I just want to say thank you very much for inviting the Gullah Geechee Nation. We appreciate you, and thank you very much for honoring Queen Quet, because she's truly a blessing to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll get a shout on